The Messiah Complex is a psychological belief where someone sees themselves as a savior of others. They don't simply want to help, they want to be worshipped, followed, and revered. They believe God has given them a mission to save the world, to transform people, to lead humanity. This complex doesn't exist only in religious figures. It can be seen in politicians, leaders, and those in positions of power. The Cinderella Complex, a psychological concept describing a woman's unconscious desire to be cared for or rescued by others, similar to Cinderella being saved by a prince. Women with this complex may feel unable to be independent, relying on others for support and decision-making, and may fear taking on adult responsibilities. It often emerges from upbringing that emphasizes being beautiful, polite, and supportive, while discouraging self-sufficiency, teaching that protection and care, usually from a man, are necessary. Peter Pan Complex. It's a psychological pattern seen in older individuals who are emotionally stuck at an adolescent stage. They avoid responsibility and instead choose a life that feels free, unburdened, and consequence-light. These individuals often shy away from hard decisions, delegating them to others, hoping someone else will take control. Growing up feels optional to them, even when life demands it. The Adonis Complex. It is a condition where a person becomes obsessed with building muscle to unhealthy levels. They live with a constant fear that they are weak or not muscular enough. This obsession affects their eating behavior, pushing them toward extreme exercise routines. Many consume excessive amounts of protein, and some may even use anabolic steroids. Over time, this can lead to serious health problems, including heart attacks. In pursuit of the perfect body, they often neglect their social relationships. The Adonis complex is most commonly seen in people involved in sports and in those seeking physical attraction or social validation. What begins as self-improvement can slowly turn into self-destruction. The Jonah Complex. It is the fear of success, or the fear of becoming one's best self. At its core, there is a fear that people may dislike or even hate you for being successful. Success brings attention, and with attention come opinions. In some cases, success attracts people you may not want in your life. There is also a fear that relationships will change, that others may become jealous or distant. Another source of fear comes from responsibility. Because success demands more effort, more expectations, and more accountability. For some, it feels safer to stay small than to step into who they could become. The Superiority Complex. It is a psychological defense mechanism that develops over time, helping a person cope with deep feelings of inferiority. On the surface, it looks like confidence, but underneath, it is something very different. Common signs of a superiority complex may include an inflated sense of self-worth, boastful claims that are not supported by reality, excessive focus on appearance or vanity, an overly high opinion of oneself, a self-image of dominance, authority, or supremacy. This complex often develops from trauma, humiliation, or social environments that reward status and dominance. To avoid feeling vulnerable or inadequate, a person begins to overcompensate. They act superior. But beneath that image, the confidence is fragile. What looks like strength is often a shield protecting deep insecurity. The Inferiority Complex. It is an exaggerated feeling of weakness or inadequacy. On the surface, it may look like insecurity, but beneath it, true motives often hide, including aspirations for power. This inner conflict can push a person to overcompensate. For example, someone who feels inferior about their height may wear special shoes to appear taller, or surround themselves with people shorter than themselves. In other cases, the overcompensation becomes more visible. Flashy behavior, constant attention-seeking, excessive competitiveness, even aggression. All of it serves one purpose: to cover real, or imagined, shortcomings. What appears as confidence is often a response to feeling deeply insufficient. The Superman Complex. It refers to an unhealthy sense of responsibility, where a person believes that others are incapable of handling tasks properly. Because of this belief, they feel a constant need to step in, to fix, to rescue, to take control. Over time, this leads them to take on far more work than they can handle. The pressure builds, the stress grows, and the weight is carried alone. What looks like strength or dedication often hides exhaustion and fear of letting go. In trying to save everyone else, they slowly burn themselves out. Othello syndrome. Also known as pathological jealousy, it occurs when a person becomes convinced that their partner is unfaithful, despite having no rational evidence. The thoughts become obsessive, doubts repeat, suspicions grow. This often leads to controlling behavior, constantly monitoring a partner's actions, checking messages, checking contacts, restricting freedom in the name of reassurance. Over time, trust disappears and fear takes its place. The term comes from Shakespeare's Othello. In the play, Othello is consumed by false beliefs and ultimately kills his wife over imagined infidelity. Othello syndrome shows how unchecked jealousy can destroy love, reason, and lives. The Oedipus Complex. It is a pattern of behavior seen in early childhood, usually between the ages of 3 and 6. During this stage, a child may develop a strong emotional attachment toward the parent of the opposite gender and feelings of jealousy toward the other parent. This may sound concerning, but it is considered a normal part of development. As children grow older, they begin to understand both parents as separate individuals. With time, these feelings fade away naturally. The name comes from Greek mythology. Oedipus, a tragic figure, unknowingly killed his father and later married his mother. Because of this story, the psychological concept became known as the Oedipus Complex. Napoleon Complex. The Napoleon Complex refers to a pattern in which some shorter-than-average individuals develop overly dominant, ambitious, or aggressive behaviors to compensate for perceived lack of height. The term is inspired by Napoleon Bonaparte, who was famously ambitious and power-driven, despite his relatively short stature. In reality, he was of average height for his time, though shorter than the elite soldiers and officials he often interacted with. Hero syndrome, a psychological complex in which a person seeks recognition for acts of heroism to an unhealthy degree, sometimes even creating dangerous situations that they can then resolve in order to be seen as a hero. Persecution complex, a psychological condition where a person holds an irrational, persistent belief that they are being targeted, watched, or conspired against, without evidence. Individuals with this complex often misinterpret others' actions as hostile or malicious. This can lead to treating others with hostility, which may provoke similar responses and reinforce their beliefs in a self-fulfilling cycle. Persecution delusions vary widely, from improbable scenarios to extremely rare ones, and sufferers may take extreme precautions, such as avoiding leaving their homes to feel protected. Guilt complex. A psychological complex marked by overwhelming feelings of responsibility and remorse for past actions, even when the person is not truly at fault. It can include a persistent fear of doing wrong in the future. Individuals with this complex are excessively self-critical, feel guilty without logical reason, and often believe they are responsible for everything that goes wrong. God complex. It describes a person with extreme arrogance and a sense of superiority, believing they are above others and incapable of mistakes. They view their opinions as unquestionably correct, are dogmatic and stubborn, lack empathy, and may disregard societal norms while demanding special treatment. This complex is often seen in business leaders, societal figures, and political authorities.